Some people call it charisma, some people call it swag. Whatever you call it, great salespeople in home improvement sales all have it. I call it personal power. If you don't have it, you won't have the ability to take and keep control in a total stranger's home, have the credibility to influence people enough to buy from you, a lot of times in a one-call close for tens of thousands of dollars, and be able to control a structured sales presentation time after time. Here are 4 things you can do to increase that power and have more fun. It's always more fun when you're winning, making more money, and being in control of the situation. Be sure you listen to the end to hear all 4. If you like these type of videos, please subscribe and check out my blog for more free home improvement sales training listed in the description below. The first thing that gives you personal power is knowledge. I'm sure you've heard people say, knowledge is power, and when selling, this power gives you credibility, which leads to more influence and more sales. To get that knowledge, you have to be serious and study your trade. That starts by being an expert in whatever product line you sell. This is your career. Why wouldn't you be an expert? That's what the customer is paying for, your expertise. Your expertise brings value to what you have to offer, and the more expertise, the more value you build. You never want to be in a position where your customer knows more about what you're selling than you do. If that happens, believe me, they'll know. You'll have no credibility, therefore no power. To me, every sales call is like a test that you must score 100% on. You can't miss one question. If you do, you fail and won't make the sale. You'll be tested by customers who already know the answer to what they're asking you. What's the low E glass in windows and how does it really work? Now, does it absorb or reflect heat? What about the cold? How does low E glass help you there, if any? Or they ask how many square feet of countertop they have when they already know. Or they ask you what's the correct sizing for their new AC unit, 1 ton, 2 ton, etc. Yes, a lot of people won't know any of that, but you don't want to make your living dependent on how smart the customer is. Make your living dependent on how smart you are. P.S. The customers who are testing you generally are approved for credit. Not only that, but your knowledge is being judged during your whole sales call. I'll never forget that one time I was selling kitchen refacing and I was measuring the lower and upper cabinets. I went to measure the cabinet above the stove where we attached the vent hood to. As I measured each cabinet at the top, I went, okay, this is 15 inches wide. Oh, this diagonal corner cabinet is 30 inches wide. And before I even got to the cabinet above the stove, I said, and I'm sure this is 30 inches, because I knew it was a 30-inch range, so I measured it and said, yep, it's 30 inches. Then later on, after she was buying a $25,000 refacing job, I asked her why she bought, and she said, you know, I've had other salespeople come into my house. Some were nice, some knew more than others, but when you were measuring the cabinets and you knew that the cabinet above my stove was 30 inches, right then I knew you knew what you were doing, and that's one of the main reasons that I'm buying from you today, not because you're the cheapest. Knowledge is power, and the more you have, the more power and therefore the more sales you make. Knowledge builds the foundation for the second thing that gives you personal power, which is self-confidence, or what I call a sales swag. If it's done right, it's not being cocky, rude, or pushy, but it's a quiet power that's there just the same. The customer feels it without you saying one word. Now, confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from knowledge, which comes from practice and study. If you're serious about your career, that means you studied everything about what you're selling and practiced for every possible thing that could come up in your sales call. From how to handle difficult customers, how to measure, price, and explain the product, and how to handle any objections that come up in the close. I don't have to say anything when I first get to somebody's home, but what I'm thinking is, go ahead, say whatever you want, act however you want, be whatever you want. Because whatever you say or do, I know how to handle it at least 3 or 4 different ways, and there's nothing you can do that'll stop me or cause me problems. Now, with a belief system like that, what type of confidence do you think I have when I'm starting my sales call? I don't have to say anything to the customer. I don't have to be egotistical, but there's a power I have that helps me influence and steer the customer the way I want them to go. It may not be obvious, but the customers feel it, and because of that, they respect you. And if you really are an expert in the field of what you're selling, you have a confidence that comes from you being prepared and how much you enjoy helping people. The customers can sense this, just like they can sense whether you're faking it. That confidence can't be affected, even if they're rude or what I call the wild animal customer. You know the ones. I'm not buying anything today. I only have 10 minutes. And can you guys do this and this and this? No matter how they act or what they say, I'm thinking and saying the same thing to them. Not a problem. Remember, big dogs don't bark. Only the little ones do. The other thing that helps my confidence is that I feel that I've earned and deserved the sale because I've paid my dues by studying and putting the time and work in. I paid the dues of all the times when I first started that I worked all day and didn't make a penny as I learned my trade. The fact that I believe that I deserve the sale is a type of confidence all on its own. You can't cheat the game, and if you know you really aren't prepared, whether on a conscious or subconscious level, you don't feel you deserve the sale, and because of that, you won't get the sale as much. The third thing that I think gives you personal power, and it sounds simple, but it's just to be nice. I've known a lot of great salespeople in my life, and I've noticed that the one thing that people always say that they seem to have in common is that they were nice. It sounds funny that you have to train and make somebody aware of doing that, almost like teaching someone how to be a human, but you'd be surprised. Or maybe not. Being nice can just be about being helpful and pleasant to talk to. I've been in homes where I can see that the clock on their stove is blinking because they don't know how to reset it. Or there's a light bulb that they can't reach which doesn't work, and regardless of whether or not I'm there to sell, I always offer, hey, do you want me to help you change that bulb? I can reach it. Or do you want me to help fix the time on your stove? Because my mom always has me fix hers. To me, it's just fun to do because I like helping people. And just the nature of you doing that will help your rapport, which will increase your chances of making the sale, and take advantage of so many universal laws that we don't have time to discuss them here. One technique that I like, and I read it in a book by Og Mandino, I think it was called The Greatest Salesman in the World. The point is that you're supposed to treat everybody that you meet as if you know a great dark secret about them. And the secret's that, imagine that you knew for some reason that at 12 midnight that day they were going to die. Now, if you knew that about the person, regardless of the situation, how would you treat that person? How would you act towards them and respond to things that you normally would be upset by? I think you know the answer. You'd be kinder, you'd be more compassionate, and you'd be more caring. Now, if you act like that, what kind of response do you think you'd get from the customer? So be nice. The fourth thing you need to do to have more personal power is not to care if you make a sale or not. It's to go in the home with the attitude that you're not there to make a sale. You're there to help them. So all your sales call is about is finding out what type of problem they have, because obviously they're not happy with something or you wouldn't be there, and find out whether or not your product can solve their problem. You don't care whether they buy or not, but are simply there to help them and have fun at the same time. It's not an act. I really put myself in the state of mind that I don't care whether they buy or not. If you do that, many things will happen that will give you personal power. First of all, the traditional leverage that a customer has over the salesperson who they know wants to make the sale is gone. They say that the true strength of any negotiation is in the hands of the person who's prepared to walk away if it's not right. The more the customer feels you want them to buy, the less control you have and the less they want to buy anyway. The more they feel that you don't care if they buy or not and are just there to help them by giving them an education, the more they'll be inclined to buy. Plus, the less that it seems like you don't care whether they buy or not gives your product more value. Look at the difference in how a Mercedes-Benz salesperson acts versus the typical used car salesperson. One wants you to fill out a credit app before you even get in it, and the other offers you to loan you the down payment if you don't have it. That's why desperate salespeople never sell. The customer smells it. It's called commission breath. If you've been doing this for a while, you'll notice that anytime you desperately need to make a sale, you feel like you can't give it away. And when you're selling left and right, and because of that you aren't trying too hard to make a sale, they seem to buy very easily. You get on a roll. Hopefully you'll think about some of these things, and when you work on them and internalize them, you'll be unstoppable. If you liked this, please check out the video on the real reason people succeed in commission sales or the playlist on closing listed above. Happy selling!